It is now time for the swearing in of your new president, Brian Ratcliff.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Brian Ratcliff,
I, Brian Ratcliff,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and protect and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the state of Arkansas,
the state of Arkansas,
and the Arkansas Bar Association,
and the Arkansas Bar Association,
and will, to the best of my ability, faithfully perform the duties of the President of the Arkansas Bar Association.
faithfully perform the duties of the President of the Arkansas Bar Association.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody. The first person you need to thank is your wife, and I want to thank Karen Ratcliff. She has attended more receptions, more parties, more meetings, and is very deserving, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be standing here. I also want to recognize my parents. My father is here, Herman Ratcliff. My mother cannot make it because she's ill. I want to recognize my brother, Bennett, who's come from New York to be here with us. And I also need to recognize several partners of mine who are deceased. Marshall Shackelford, Dennis Shackelford, his wife Jane is with us, and Norwood Phillips, and then my former partner who's not deceased, Teresa Wineland, who I went 17 years with as a partner and as a good friend and a comrade. And I also need to recognize my 5 new friends who took out on a voyage with me in March that I was just tickled to death with at PPGMR Law. And that's Alan Perkins, John Piserich, Julie Greathouse, Scott Morgan, and Jim Rankin. Thank y'all. I practiced law at the Shackelford firm for about 25 years, and I have one person who knows what I'm doing, where I am, when I am. I want to call her my right hand, but she gets mad when I do that, so I call her my left hand because she's left-handed. Becky Harbor, thank you, Becky, and Joan and Sharon Johnson, who have also been with me for 24 years. Thank y'all. They knew me as a little bitty pup young lawyer. And last but not least, the last 2 years, Chase Carmichael has been with me and helped me. Without Chase, I wouldn't also be here. Thank you, Chase. I want to take y'all back to 1992. I'm just practicing law in the Shackelford Law Firm, and I have just won a big case. I'm on the litigation high. I've told my partners, and they're excited. And I'm thinking, man, maybe one day I'll make a partner at Shackelford, and Phillips. I'm so excited. So that night I decide to celebrate, and I go out to the Junior Food Mart and buy some beer and walk up to the counter and set it down, and I've just won in court and I'm feeling so good. And the lady looks at me and she says, "Can I see some ID?" And I look at myself and I thought, this is the guy who just delivered justice, who they just believed. And I looked down and I looked at myself, and I'm still in my suit, and I said, "I'm just curious, who do you think I am and what do I do?" And so she looks at me, up and down. She goes, "You look like a boy in a suit." I tell that story because I went from a high to being humbled very, very quick by a clerk in a Junior Food Mart. And it's with great humility that I take this office as president of the Arkansas Bar Association. People ask me, this is where Karen Hutchins gets worried. I'm gonna say, "What do you do?" And people say, "What do you want to do as president?" And so she's now gonna start really listening. Well, based upon what Chief Justice just said, I think the Bar Association is gonna look at our mentoring program and how we can better mentor young lawyers and what we can do to be more effective at that. Next thing is he also talked about The court declared Rule 7 as unconstitutional, and I am on the committee that is looking at that, and we're working hard, and I suspect we will have a proposed rule change to the Chief Justice for consideration. One thing that I learned, and I think President Simpson did when we undertook this, is that approximately 600 attorneys or more are late in paying their license fees, and that was just shocking. One other thing that we're working on is malpractice insurance. This is something that's near and dear to all of our hearts. We currently have CNA as our provider, and you say, well, they've done a good job, but we want to look and say, is there something out there better? Can we be better served? And well, that sounds pretty easy, but it has become a monumental task for Larry Burks and his committee, and we're expecting a report from them in August. The next thing is something that Stark Ligon has brought to our attention, and it's so true of all these people. We have so many solo practitioners, and a problem that he's come up with is what happens when a solo practitioner dies suddenly, or is in a car wreck and can no longer practice. Who can go open his office? Who can look in his files? What authority does somebody have? And so we formed a task force to look at this, and it might make rule changes. We don't know what it is that we're going to propose, but it is a problem, and Stark says it's happening more often than you would think. The next thing that we're looking at that we've sent to a committee is, what do you do when you have an older lawyer who starts to slip a little and isn't quite making it and isn't making good decisions and is ultimately harming his or her clients? How do we handle this? Dr. Sarah Kearley has brought this to our attention, and we have a committee that's looking at that and deciding what recommendations need to be made. I have written an article that some of y'all may have read in the Arkansas Business, and it mentions some of the same things the Chief Justice just did about the judiciary. And my hope was to light a fire and hopefully bring this to a discussion, and I liked his idea about the Bar Association appointing a task force or committee, and we'll probably be going there with that. Then there comes one thing. They tell you a lot of things when you take this office, and one of the warnings is, if you can do it, don't do it in a legislative session. Well, Jim Simpson is really smart. I am not. I got the legislative session, and so I will be your representative at the legislature, and I will work with Jack McNulty, our lobbyist, as well as the legislative committee to pass what bar package that we have. And after trying to do all of this, I'm going to try to practice law with my friends here at PPGMR Law in what little time I have. I want to thank everybody. I'm humbled and I'm honored to be your president, and I look forward to serving you. Thank you. I'm going to go down in the front.